the Author to Author podcast series with award-winning author Pamela R Haynes.
Welcome to the podcast.
Dalgety Herbal Teas produce 100% natural high-quality organic teas using only the best ingredients. Available now from all major supermarkets, or please visit our website at dalgety.co. Dalgety Herbal Teas.
Hello there, lovely listeners. It's your girl, Pamela R Haynes, award-winning author of Loving the Brothers. Today is episode 3 already, and I have not one but 2 amazing authors for you. Audrey McFarlane, author of The Love of God, and Tarnya Coley, author of Plan It, See It, Anticipate It. Before we get there, I wanted to let you know that the Author to Author podcast is now available on Audible and Amazon Music. So you can catch up on season 1 of the podcast there, as well as 9 listening platforms. The podcast also goes out every Monday on Pantango radio station at 12 p.m. on Mondays, on East London Radio at 4 p.m. and at uk246.com at 8 p.m. on Mondays. So I hope you all feel able to take part in the competition regardless of how you are listening to the podcast. Don't forget, the podcast is sponsored by Dalgety Tea, so please use the discount code A2AS2 for 10% off your next Dalgety Tea order. Now let's jump into the interview. Thank you both for joining me on the Author to Author podcast, and thank you for donating 2 copies of your books, The Love of God, Plan It, See It, and Anticipate It. Lovely listeners, Audrey and Tarnya are mother and daughter. Starting with you, Audrey, where in the world are you from?
I was born in Birmingham, England, and I still live in Birmingham.
Okay. You live in Birmingham now. Whereabouts in Birmingham? Because it's quite a big place, isn't it? Are you on the outskirts? Are you near the town centre?
On the outskirts, Kings Norton.
And in terms of your heritage, where does your family come from?
Both parents are from Jamaica, St. Anne, Mount Moriah.
Have you had the opportunity to go to Jamaica?
Yeah, a couple of times. Been to Jamaica a couple of times, yeah. Meeting with family and friends and yeah.
Wonderful. And what is it like being a first generation British?
First generation British. I don't know what to compare it with. My parents, they would speak the patois. And then when we attempted it, speak English. So one had to change the way we spoke. But I've never really faced any problems or anything that I can think of. Grew up in a neighbourhood of mixed, both Asian and white and black, and we got on very well.
So did your parents meet here or did they meet in Jamaica?
They met in Jamaica, and then my sister was born there, and then my other 2 siblings and myself were born in England.
But was it the case that one parent came first and then sent for the family, or did they both travel together?
No, they didn't both travel together. My dad came first, and that was the mid-50s. Then sent for my mother. Then I was born here, and then sent for my sister and my other 2 siblings born here.
Right. But what does being British mean to you?
I was thinking about that question, actually. Being British, other than fish and chips and the weather, can be a challenge at times, because when you look at the media and you see how the challenges that we do have, it's a bit difficult sometimes to get your head around some things. But I try to disassociate myself from, because yes, if you're white, you're going to have challenge. If you're a lower class, you're going to have challenge. If you are of a certain nationality, you're going to, wherever we go, human nature likes to fight against and wants to be superior than. So being British, faced my challenges, and I think I've come out all right.
So what was the educational system like back then?
Remember starting the first day at infant school, and then went to the different schools. I don't know why in the area that I was living in Aston, why we moved about so many times, but went to an all-girls school. Then they decided, okay, they're going to knock down that building. And then I went to secondary school, and I preferred the girls' school because the education standards were higher. And left school my GCSEs, and then pursued, went to college to further my education and came out with other qualifications. But no problems there. It was difficult sometimes when, sitting in a class and certain subjects, like it's over your head, but by speaking to the teacher and, listening to what the teacher had to say and being attentive. That was good. That was good.
Okay, thank you for that. Hey, Tarnya, and how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How far away do you live from your mum?
I live 2 hours away. I'm in Manchester, sunny Manchester.
Right, and whereabouts in Manchester are you?
I'm in East Manchester,
Like Manchester City?
Man City.
And are you a Man City fan?
I don't follow football.
Oh, okay. So tell us what it was like growing up as a second generation British woman.
Oh, growing up, I grew up in Birmingham and I lived in a predominantly white area. And believe it or not, I didn't suffer any racism, nothing like that. We grew up nicely. There was probably like 6 black children in our high school, but never had any issues. We grew up nicely together. And I had a great experience and still connected with people all the years later.
Yeah, I mean, that's really refreshing to hear, isn't it? Because normally, children of immigrants find it very difficult to settle in an area or to settle in schools. So it's really nice to hear that you had a different experience. So moving on to your book, Tarnya, how does writing a book complement your coaching business?
That's a great question. So all my books are talking about empowerment, looking at setting goals, taking action, being productive. And so does my coaching program. So my coaching program is all about how to set goals, how to take action, because 92 people don't actually hit their goals. So this is why I write around the subject and do coach. It complements it very nicely. So my planners and on my book, you're able to then the theory and the practical.
So you've got how many books? I thought it was 2 books out.
I've got 4 publications on Amazon.
Goodness, how embarrassing. Run through the titles for me.
So the first one was Open Doors. And then the second one is The Simple Way to Get Motivated. Then the third one is a goal planner. And then the fourth one.
Thank you for your answer. Audrey, why did you decide to write your book, and how important is your faith to you?
A few years ago, I decided to write a book, compilation of women coming together and how they overcame. And I put that down after my sister passed away. So I just left that. And then, when you're on different groups, like the different WhatsApp group, and you're sending out devotionals and words of encouragement and so on and so forth. And each day you'd get one. And I thought, okay, I could write something. I could do something, because all of us together on there are Christians. So for those who have not come to faith, that will be something good to do. And it was really impressed on my heart to do that. And I left it off for a time. And it kept coming back. And I was impressed too. And then I wrote the book, and it's called The Love of God, 30-day devotional. And I see how the foundation of Christianity is about love, the great love of God, sending his son, being crucified, not for sins of his own, but for sins of the whole world. And it's to bring over the love of God, and how God is love, and he is the origin of love. Love is not of God, but God is love. And it was just impressed on me to write it, wrote it, and bless the Lord. It's out there.
Yes, and congratulations. It was a bestseller, if I remember rightly. So congratulations on that. And what I liked about it was the way that the book is laid out, because there are bits for you to write down your own reflections as part of the book as well. So it feels quite interactive. And I suppose that's what separates your book from maybe other devotionals where you just read a passage, maybe signposted to a passage in the Bible, and that's it. But this feels as though you're taking part in your own development and your own devotion and exercising your faith as well. So back to you, Tarnya. What attributes did your mother pass on to you that you have now passed on to your daughter?
Oh, wow. I could write a book on this, Pamela. Maybe that's the title of my next book, The Attributes of My Mother Passed Down to My Daughter. Wow. Just for the purpose of time, I'll just mention a few. Being kind was one of them, making sure that, someone sometimes can be, respond to you differently, but always respond back. Killing people with kindness, my mum always said, is so important. And being resilient. My mum had me when she was old. I don't know how when my daughter turned 16, I looked at her, I thought, there's no way my daughter would have been able to do that. So being resilient and pushing back, she was the first person in her family to graduate university. I'm a social worker. So I've seen that in my mum, always pushing and working hard, She always put her stuff aside for me. And she always said, she would see me grow up first, and then she will do what she needs to do. And she did. And she got married after I left home. So that must have been a big thing. I don't know if I would have been able to do that for my daughter. And then also being assertive with other attributes that I've now passed down to my daughter.
Wow, that's wonderful. But don't you think that 16-year-olds these days are very different to 16-year-olds, back in the day? For example, I was way past, 12 and 13 already, making dinner for the family, being responsible for my younger siblings and so on. And, my youngest is not far off 16 now. And I don't really want him to have all of that kind of responsibility. So I certainly resonate with you about what your mom's experience and, how it shapes you to make you the person you are today and how you are able to then support your daughter as well. So the question is for Audrey, are there more books to follow? What's your next work in progress called and what it is about?
Okay. Yes, I've picked up the pen and I just can't put it down now. I can't put it down. And the next book is on prayer. It's another devotional and it's looking at the different and the various kinds of prayer. And it's in a devotional. And also I'm looking to write coaching courses.
Oh, wow.
So I've got the writing book. I'll be continuing with that.
Thank you for that. I'm going to look forward to your next work in progress. What is the title of that book called?
The book that I'm currently writing now, it hasn't got a title yet, but it's on prayer.
You'll have to come back and let me know what you decide to call that book. It'd be interesting. So, Tarnya, you recently moved into Birmingham, which I think is a brave new venture. Huge congratulations. What support do you give new writers into becoming published authors?
So the support that I give for new writers, having that space to be able to talk about what is it first. And I think it's really important to ask those questions as to why you want to as well, because one of my authors said, I shouldn't laugh, that's funny, she wanted revenge. And so it's great to ask these questions because you can't write from, well, you can write from a place of that and you're very effective. So you have to ensure that you're healed, that you're on this journey, this process before you write, because it's how you write, because it's the message. I really think about the message that you want to share, overcoming, and all those kinds of great things that people want to know about as well. So I do strategy sessions with my new writer and we plan out making sure our author's mindset, looking at, why you want to write, who is it for, looking at a writer's routine, writer's mindset. And it's really getting them into that frame of mind. And that's how I set the journey, usually about 90 days.
Oh, wow. And how many titles have you been able to publish?
To date, I've done 6 titles. And I'm currently now working with 40 authors. So little by little, they'll be coming out one by one.
And when you dream of success, what does success look like for you?
Wow, that's a big question. I get asked that a lot. Success for me, I'm not materialistic when it comes to money, cars. You can't get buried with them, can you? So, it's great to have money, pay the bills, turn the lights on. However, for me, success looks like I've given up my job as a lecturer. I'm able to now spend more quality time with my children. I'm able to pick them up, take them out. Like yesterday, we just went out, let's go out. So we all did. I couldn't have done that, working full time. Get up when I want to, or I don't feel like working today, or let me work a little bit later and I'll finish late and I'll finish early as well. And having those types of luxuries, for me, that's success.
Oh, yes, it's certainly, a different standard, if you're not motivated by money, although it would be nice, you wouldn't turn down the opportunity to be able to have a nice lifestyle on that. But it's the quality of life, being able to spend that quality time with your children that you won't get back. Soon from now, your 16-year-old will be off to college and university and so on. And your whole life changes again. So to be able to be in the moment, rather than putting the moment off until, the children leave or until they get married or until retirement, but actually living in the moment with them now is absolutely wonderful. And I like how you have reframed what success looks like for you. So, Audrey, we are coming out of lockdown now, slowly but surely. But what I did want to know is that if you got the opportunity to travel anywhere in the world, money was no object, where would you go?
Go back to Jamaica. Because on the 2 occasions that I did go to Jamaica, I wanted to meet more family. and I didn't have that opportunity. Love to go back to Jamaica.
Any particular place that you would go to or hotel that you would stay in?
When I went a couple of times, it was with my husband's family. I did meet up with some of my family, and that was in Kingston. And my family is from St Anne in Mount Moriah, so I'd like to go there. And I have an uncle that's out there, and he's got a 10-bedroom house, so I wouldn't be stopping at a hotel. I'll be stopping with my Uncle Duke and his new wife, and spending time there, and then get the family to come over instead of me going traipsing all over the island, and let everybody come to where he's at. He knows how to entertain.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Jamaica is obviously a beautiful destination as well, having gone twice myself. And the same question to you, Tarnya, where would you go?
For me, that's quite tricky. There's lots of places I'd like to go to, but one of them is America. I know it sounds a bit like, oh, really? But the thing is, I've met so many people throughout the lockdown. I've had the opportunity to meet so many people. A lot of my clients are American, the connections that I've made. So I'd love to meet everybody that I've met throughout the lockdown because it's all virtual. So to go to America, and they'll meet up wherever I am. So that's awesome. So I'd love to go to America if Boris lets us.
And whereabouts in the States? It's a huge place. Whereabouts would you like to travel or visit?
New York is my first stop. I've got lots of different places, but I know America's so big and I'll be traveling. So I have to sort of like have a look of where I want to go and then do it strategically and do it that way. So first point, of course, is America, going to the New York. Then one of my clients is in Minnesota, or so I don't know. So isn't that? I don't know. But I'm going to be traveling, Pam. I'm going to be Pamela. I'm going to be traveling.
Yeah, it sounds like a tour, doesn't it? State to state. Fantastic. So, Tarnya, were you able to have a book launch for this last book? And if so, tell us how it went.
Yes, I had a book launch and I did it online, and it was a new experience for me. But I thought it was great because, like I said, I've met so many people from all over the world, and throughout the lockdown with my things like that, what I've been doing. So it's opened up the world for me. So having it online, having so many people from all over the world tuning in, and also along my 3-year journey, I've met so many amazing people in different spheres, and they were able to also come, as opposed to waiting for lockdown to just doing it in Manchester. I alienating a lot of people, so I had the opportunity to do that, and it was absolutely brilliant. It's online. I had singers, poetry. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, that's wonderful, Tarnya. And it's good to know. And almost overnight, people were reinventing themselves. Everything that they were doing in person, they were doing it online. And the online book launch industry has just taken off, isn't it? People are hiring singers and musicians and poets, poems, poetry, the whole thing. So it's really good to know that things are still taking place and that people are just finding other ways to deliver and to have fun. So, Audrey, are you ready to read a small passage of your devotional book?
I haven't got it at hand.
I have. Do you want to borrow mine?
Yes, please. I was saying day one is the key for me of the whole book, John 3:16. So, Tarnya, if you could read a verse and just one paragraph.
John 3:16. For God so loved the world so much that he gave his only son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life.
And one paragraph.
Of all the 102 verses in the Bible, John 3 may be the most popular verse in evangelizing. This verse speaks throughout all Christians, to all people, and the end of the age.
That's wonderful. And is that
beautiful.
Part then the exercise that people do as part of the devotion? Fantastic. Tarnya, back to you. What advice would you give an inspiring writer? And if somebody wanted to get hold of you, how can they find you?
One little advice. It's going to be so simple, Pamela, so simple. My advice to an aspiring writer is to just, because often times we get in our own way and our own objection. I can't do it. I'm not a writer and all those things. But actually, we just need to do it, because whilst we have time, we need to just do it. Get it out of our head and onto paper. And it's just taking that one step, just one day. And it's so easy these days, Pamela, because you don't need to just type. You have a dictation on your laptop, or you have speech to text on your phone. You can just speak and ta-da, the words appear. So I really do encourage people, because our stories are not for us. Our stories to inspire and motivate others. It's a blueprint and a guide to follow. So if people wanted to get in touch with me, just email me at Tarnya at ibelieveIcan.co.uk. And I'll be happy to take people's calls. If you want to have a free consultation, get in touch with me, and I'd love some tips on how to get started.
Fantastic. And Audrey, if people wanted to get hold of you, what are your social media handles?
On Facebook, it's Audrey Hepburn McFarlane. Contact me through Facebook. On Instagram and Twitter, it's just Audrey Hepburn.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yes.
And can people contact you to DM you on Instagram or contact you on Facebook to get a signed copy of your books?
Yes, definitely can. Or they could email me at audreylee@talktalk.net.
Fabulous. Thank you. Tarnya, you are creating a wonderful legacy. Are they likely to follow your footsteps as well, become authors?
Thank you, Pam. Thank you for that encouraging word. My son, he is 15 or 14, 15, and he's a co-author in a book when he was in primary school. He's now writing a book, actually. It's a short story, and he has a very, very vivid imagination. But at the moment, he had writer's block for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And so he's started, but I'm encouraging him. I'm going to do the strategy with him and help him to get his story out, because he's got an amazing story. It really draws you in. So my daughter, on the other hand, she's like, no way, Mom, I am not writing a book. But she's very arty, very creative. She does lots of drawings. So I'm thinking she may do a artistic, who knows. She did actually do my illustration for my first book opened. So maybe she'll write some creative.
See how, this is how you create generational wealth and generational creativity. They see their grandmother doing it, their mum doing it, and now they are inspired to be creative themselves. So that's just absolutely wonderful. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of our interview. I feel as though I know you both a bit more than before. And thank you so much. I wish you all the best on your journey. Audrey, I'm looking forward to your new title coming out. And Tarnya, I'm thinking about doing a children's edition of the podcast on stage. So if your son has published his book, it would be amazing to have him on the podcast as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Brilliant.
And bye for now.
Thank you for having us.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Audrey and Tanya's interview. It's competition time now. Tarnya lives in Manchester. Which football stadium does she live near? If you want to take part in the competition, please contact me on Instagram at lovingthebrothersauthor and leave me the correct answer there. For those of you not on Instagram, contact me on Facebook at Loving the Brothers Author by Pamela R Haynes and leave me a message there. Take care and bye for now.
Please join Pamela R Haynes for another Author to Author podcast coming soon.